What's up, guys? This is Ian here, coach of your Ladner Lanturn, bringing you guys our UPBA Season 1 recap. This is not a draft recap, this is a full season recap. I'm going to go over how my team performed, how I performed, what the season was like for us, how we ended up, and my thoughts about the season, as well as my plans moving forward. Yeah, this was my second ever draft league, technically, although it was drafting at the same time as my first draft league was drafting. My first draft league is technically the LET, or the League of Extraordinary Trainers. You can catch those videos on my channel as well. I post my team builders, as well as the battle videos with some help from my pal TJ for that league, and I also did a draft breakdown. I will do a season breakdown when that is finished. But the UPBA had 3 less regular season weeks, so we started playoffs much earlier than the LET did, even though we finished drafting later. Bob started this league. I met Bob through the SAPL, where I helped him draft, and then I hopped in here. I knew Magic, I knew Mano by name, and that was it when I got in here. So it was a good time. We ended up getting 3rd pick overall. As you can see here, we were the 3rd roster down. That meant we were the 3rd pick overall. We had some struggles with keeping on coaches. Quite a few coaches dropped. Code Wrecker was initially the coach for this. Razakin was initially the coach for this. Oh god, what was his name? I can't remember now. Maryland Haluchas, I can't remember what his name was. Oh well. Dat Dude was a replacement for him. Monster was a replacement for Mugen, and Rudiger was a replacement for... Oh god, what was his name now? I can't remember. It was actually so long ago that these guys got replaced. Sifurname. Rudiger was a replacement for Sifurname. Yeah, so I helped bring in these coaches because I have connections in A-Drive's Discord, and I managed to post advertisement, and I managed to bring in Bionic Soup, my good buddy Jed. Shoutouts to Jed. I should and I will post his channel in the description of this video. Jed's been a really good friend of mine ever since I got him into the UPBA. This was his 2nd league, I believe, after the CCBL had started, and he was looking to get into more draft leagues, and now we've been friends for months, I guess. Yeah, I'm in every single one of the leagues that he's in, and we've had a couple battles. I think we've only had 2 battles, and then if you include our CCBL friendly, we've had 3. But Jed's a really good friend of mine. Frost, or Kade, is another really good friend of mine. He was already in the server, and he managed to take over the team. Magic's a really good buddy of mine. Dat Dude, another person that I brought in from the A-Drive's Discord. I'm not as close with Dat Dude, but I would say we're reasonable acquaintances. Monster, I've grown to... I don't know how to put this. Monster and I got introduced to him by getting him into the server, and we've become pretty close friends as well. And I would say that I'm friends with Rudiger as well after I brought him in. They all played pretty well in their own right. A lot of them made some changes. I believe Rudiger made a few, Monster made a few, Datate made 1, Jed made a few, and Kade was allowed to redo the entire team, so he ends up with the team that you see now. Yeah, so these are the rosters. Obviously, none of those replacement coaches drafted in those spots, but I managed to draft like this, and I have the draft analysis pulled up so we can see what I got. Kyurem-Black at 3rd pick, I think, was okay. I think Suikun's 2nd round is maybe a little bit early, especially how close to the wheel I was. Infernape round 3 is really good value. Crocodile round 4, I think, was, again, probably around, maybe a little bit early or around the right time. Heliolisk, maybe a little bit early. Registeel, I think, was around the right time. Mega Absol, I didn't need to necessarily grab right away, but I did. Golbat, I think, was around the right time, considering what I grabbed. Virizion, again, around the right time. Mimikyu, I think, was a very good value pick at round 10. I think it's a very, very, very solid pick, and you'll see why. You'll see why I think it's a very good value pick later. Pilliswine, again, another good value pick. I think I picked in round 11. I thought my team was pretty well rounded, although I did not see the horrific fighting weakness that I had, especially after I post-draft dropped Golbat for Empoleon. I realized that I had enough free points to get rid of Golbat and get Empoleon instead. Now, that was not the only transaction. I believe I may have had Empoleon for 1 week. Let me actually just pull up my prep document to see that real quick here, and then you guys will get a sneak peek of my prep document if you haven't seen it before. I'll just drag it over to the other monitor here, and I'll put it here. Yeah, so here's the prep document that I use. Oh wow, it's so much brighter on this monitor than it is on my second monitor. It started off pretty poor, but this was right at the beginning. So as you can see, what I brought against Bob, and this is kind of how I prep. So I did have Empoleon for week 1, and then you'll see in week 2 I did not have Empoleon. So we actually dropped Golbat for Empoleon right off the bat, and then we dropped Empoleon for Mantine in week 2. Now, this is kind of important because it was supposed to help with my fighting weakness, and it was supposed to give me another defogger to replace Empoleon, because I really had no hazard removal with most of my team. I know I went over this, and I went over the Z Captains. The Z Captains never changed because I never dropped any of these, but Mimikyu proved to be a very good Super Saiyan user, and Kyurem-Black and Infernape, both in their own rights, proved to be really good offensive users as well. Empoleon was good for my team, but it just enhanced the fighting weakness that I dropped. I've dropped a 4 times resist for another weakness, so really my only switch into fighting type attacks at the time was Mimikyu. Mimikyu was literally my only switch into a fighting type attack. I was weak with everything else, or didn't resist it at all, and I kind of suffered because of that against CSA. I didn't prep well enough for the Breloom coming, and not that it mattered because Cresselia ended up bopping me, but I'll touch on that in a sec. Yeah, let's actually touch on the schedule first. Yeah, that's a good idea. So week 1, we played Bob, and we lost 1-0. This was a really close game. I misplayed once by doubling into Mega Absol on Mega Blastoise. It was Mega Blastoise versus Suicune. He was spamming Aura Sphere against Suicune for some reason, and I doubled into Mega Absol, which was one of my really good win cons. Sacked it, and it died. I had some really good prep with the red card Mimikyu that took on, because he speed passed with Jolteon into Kartana and then SD'd, and so I stopped the Kartana from doing anything with my red card Mimikyu. But in the end, I couldn't pull out the victory. I thought that Infernape and Kyurem-Black could do enough work to his team, but they ended up failing me greatly, I think, in the end. It was a good lesson learned, and yeah, it was mostly a lesson learned. My prep doc gets a lot better as the weeks keep going. Week 2, we played CSA and the Tacoma Tapus. Here's the match. He won 5-0, so at this point we're 0-2, -6, I think. He ended up sweeping me with Cresselia. I think I got 1 kill. I planned for Mega Absol against Galvantula turn 1 and completely overlooked the fact that A, he could be Sash, and B, he's a bug type. I had prepped and I was like, well, Fire Blast kills at turn 1, and he actually turned out, I think, to be Scarfed. Or maybe I missed the Fire Blast or something. But he ended up just destroying my Absol turn 1, which was really bad because Absol was a really good check to Cresselia. I brought 2 Dark types to handle Cresselia, and he ended up just Moonblasting through my team. Once Registeel was weakened a lot, he just Moonblasted right through me. I couldn't break his sub with anything, and Infernape was Scarfed, and U-Turn didn't break it. Kyurem-Black had to come in and break it with like Fusion Bolt or something, and it was like a roll maybe. I can't even remember how bad that game went. It was just awful. Really, really bad. The worst part is that CSA was in my division, and so losing to him was pretty detrimental. Yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say about that. Week 3, we ended up playing Mugen and the Western Weebs. You can see my prep docs evolved a little bit here with the sprites, and a little bit, for the most part. I predicted what Silvally type he was going to be, went through my speed creeping. Yeah, Mugen played okay in our match. I only pulled out a 1-0 victory over him. I was expecting to get a little bit higher of a win, I think, but it worked out okay. Mugen's team was really bad. Monster actually ended up picking up this team and changing it a lot to make it a rain team with some more physical threats on it. Sorry, with some more threats on it, I should say, not some more physical threats. Because it was kind of bad. He had like a sun aspect with Victory Bell and then a rain aspect with Mega Swan. It was really weird team that Mugen had. I think I played pretty well this game. It ended up being a very hacksy one, and it came down to a 1-0. And then Mugen dropped right afterwards. So no complaints about that. It's perfectly okay with me. Week 4, we played Rudiger and the Cleveland Cavaliers. So Rudiger had just picked up the Sifernip's team. I can't... Jump Blazers and Fernip, I think, was what it was originally called. We played Rudiger. This was a really close match, actually. He had really awesome prep with the Bandit Azelf that kind of steamrolled my team. I think got like 5 kills against me or something. I thought I was in a winning position with, I think, Mimikyu. And he ended up just Zen headbutting me to death with Bandit Azelf. It was a really fun game to play, actually. I'm not salty about this at all. I'm salty about a few of these games, but I'm not salty about this one whatsoever. Really well-played game on his part. And you can see by the doc here that Sun was kind of losing a lot. Maryland Hallucin? Yeah, no, I said that. Sun was kind of losing a lot to Moon. Sorry, Sun was beating Moon already, and this was the first interleague matchup. Week 5. Week 5, we played Johnny and the Colorado Reggie Rockies. Another divisional matchup. This was a very difficult match, despite the fact that Johnny's record didn't show it at the end of the season. We only pulled out a 1-0 victory. It was very hacksy. He ended up missing a Leaf Storm the same turn that I missed a Fire Blast, which was a lot worse for me because he turned out to be Scarf Superior. So yeah, I was sad about that. Because Mega Absol should have outsped Superior, as you can see here in this little box right here, but he ended up almost killing me with his Scarf Superior. Yeah, not the biggest problem overall, but it was an issue. I think I picked the win with Scarf Infernape at the end, picking up a kill with Flare Blitz on the Braviary. Yeah, good game. A game I probably should have won a little bit harder based on the design of his team, but that's neither here nor there. Week 6, we played Magic. This was probably one of the games I felt was the hardest. Magic had a really good team built, and I didn't see much of an opening for me to do anything, but I think this was the first game that Mimikyu was able to fulfill its Super Saiyan role. Ended up Z-splashing, and Mimikyu picked up 5 kills in a 5-0 victory. Like once rocks were up and Donphin was chipped, I think Mimikyu kind of just swept his entire team, from what I remember. Not much to say about it, honestly. Magic had been having a really good season up to this point, and I was looking like I was pretty bad at the time. I think it was 2-3, and so this win kind of picked me back up and pushed me back into the playoff race potentially, because I was 3-3 at this point. Week 7, we took on Jed. Okay, so this might have been the first week that Jed had played. Was it? Rio? Yeah, that's me. And no, it was the second week. He played Johnny. Oh, and he'd played Rudiger over here. So I don't remember when Jed came in. Jed took over for AZ's Armada, so it looks like Jed took over in week 5, and we took him on in week 7. And he pulled off a really cool strat against me. I thought I was in a really good position to win this game, and he ended up pulling off a really cool strat with Rapidash, and I think it was Xurkitree. He ended up agility, he was Focus Sash Rapidash, and he agility Baton Passed in his Xurkitree on my team, and I didn't bring much of anything for Xurkitree, to be honest with you. I think like Piloswine could have been decent to check the Xurkitree. Virizion resists the hits that it's going to go for unless you pack Dazzling Gleam for it. Yeah, I played pretty poorly around that, and I ended up losing a well-fought match. It was very good. It was a very well-played game on both parts, I think, and I was a little bit sad to lose it. This was also my first match taking on Jed, and you can see he's got 4 base 100s on this team. Not the best, but again, he didn't draft this team, so I can't really blame Jed for anything wrong with the team, to be completely honest. Like, for some reason, there was Hail with no Hail Sweeper when he picked it up. So, anyways, that's besides the point. We played Jed, we lost, he kicked our ass. Moving on to week 8, we took on Mano. We managed to beat Mano. This was a very important match. I think we were both 3-4 at the time, and me winning this match ended up securing myself a really good in a really good position for playoffs coming up. Mimikyu, with another sweep this game, decided that it wanted to absolutely go off, and I was okay with that. Mano had a very weak team to my Heliolisk as well, so Heliolisk got to Volt Switch around like crazy. I think I was Calm Mind, Virizion, no, I was set up Virizion, and set up Virizion actually put in work. This was actually the last week we could make trades. And you'll see I have Crobat on this team for a little while here, and I'll just touch on that because you'll notice that Mantine's gone after week 3, or week 4, sorry, and then Crobat shows up. So what happened is Kade had picked up the team, and he ended up dropping everything. He dropped his entire team, but I managed to ask him to trade me Crobat for Mantine because it was a really good trade for me overall. Getting Crobat on my team was a fighting resist. It was a really fast mon, so it helped my speed tiers out, and it was a defogger, so it helped out over Mantine. And luckily he decided to go for it and then keep rebuilding his team. He actually dropped everything and then rebuilt it from the ground up. But at the time, I can actually close this because we're done with this now. At the time of this game, week 8, I had Crobat, and now I'd just beaten Mano, and the trade deadline had happened. So I managed to figure out a deal with Kade where he ended up dropping Ambipom. You'll notice he dropped Ambipom here, and then I picked it up for Virizion. Now, Virizion had not done much for my team. I had a really good matchup against Mano. I felt that the calm mindset that I brought against CSA was actually really good, but it ended up not doing anything there. So we dropped it for Ambipom, which is up here now. And we've used all of our free agent transactions and one of our trades, and that's what we end up with total. Yeah, that's what we ended up with total. But in week 9, we took on... Who did we take on? We took on Kade and the Jake Stallers. So a week later, we have Ambipom, and we ended up losing 3-0. I brought some surprises. His team was really difficult for me to build for and take on. The Mega Aggron by itself was just such a pain in the ass, man. It was such a pain. Oh my god. I had to bring like Ground EMZ Kyurem-Black to go through his filter to try and kill him with a Z Earth power or something ridiculous, which was just blew my mind how hard his team was to prep for. I was actually really happy to come out with it only 0-3 because, only losing 3-0 because I needed to keep the differential to make my season go a little bit better. Week 10, we took on Byron, I think, which was pretty much another guaranteed loss. Byron's a really good battler. He has a fantastic team, and we ended up just getting smashed, I think. 4-0, yeah. I was really happy to not get 6-0'd by him. I had a couple neat sets. I brought a really cool Registeel set that we'll go over in a second. We'll go over the sets in a bit. I have the team builders. Oh, thanks, Shoutout, for reconnecting. I was gonna say I have... Oh, okay, well, we're not gonna show all of this, are we? Fuck, UPBA. There we go. Oh! Good thing people don't watch my videos from the other leagues, right? Jeez. Yeah, so we'll go through the teams that I have set up. Yeah, so Byron, we lost. Week 11, we took on Dat Dude. Now, this match mattered a lot to me, and it didn't matter at all for him. He'd already been eliminated, but this win determined whether or not I basically made playoffs, right? It was pretty much do or die for me, and I needed to win the game to make playoffs because I was competing against CSA and Mano, and if Mano kept losing, then I was in a good spot, and if CSA kept winning, it didn't matter. But I wanted to win the division. Then week 12, it turned out that CSA had lost, I think? CSA ended up forfeiting because it didn't matter. Because once Mano lost here, I think... Yeah, I think once Mano lost here, I was guaranteed for I was clinched for playoffs, and so we memed it out in week 12. It was a really fun meme match. And Mano and Bob ended up losing to me because my team had more memes that were worthwhile. Yeah, so let's run through some of the teams I brought. So this was my first team against Bob. We brought Physical Infernape with Fightinium Z, which pretty much did nothing to his Florges, and I accidentally blew this on a Jolteon when I thought his Mega Blastoise would stay in on my Infernape. Scarf Kyurem did a lot of work to his team. This particular Suicune set pretty much was there to wall Victini, and it did nothing. Mega Absol got sacked. This was a really good Mimikyu set to red card things out, and Registeel ended up doing pretty much nothing. Overall, nothing team against Tacoma Tabus, again, pretty much nothing. Poisinium Z, Gunkshot, and Infernape was really cool. Excuse me, I can't remember what exactly it was for. We had this much speed on Kyurem for some reason. I'm sure if you watch the team builder, you'd know why. Life Orb Crocodile was interesting. I don't know if I necessarily would ever run Life Orb on Crocodile again. Um, this Registeel couldn't break Creselia's sub, which was a pain in the ass. Calm Mind for Xeon I thought was a really cool set, and I'm really sad that it didn't get to do more work than it did. And Absol yet again did nothing. Classic Mega Absol on my team. Then we played Mugen, and I had Therium Z Player Off to guarantee the hit. This was pretty good Twinkle Tackle sets. Mega Absol did nothing, although it was more of a utility set with the Will-O-Wisp and Pursuit Trapping. Kyurem-Black was a more defensive sub-roost set that I actually think put in a lot of work. I was special Infernape with Shuka, and this actually kind of 6-0'd Mugen's team at the time. He literally had nothing for this except for Ditto, and I couldn't deal with Ditto +2 vacuum waving through my team. Yeah, unfortunate. Registeel did nothing yet again, and my Mental Herb Crook set was kind of cool. I guaranteed that I got a rocks against his team for a lot of good chip. Then we played Rudiger. I don't remember what was bad about this, but we finally learned that Priority on Infernape was good. Heliolisk was a strong set, I think, this week. I think Piloswine, you run the same set pretty much every time. This was a very weird Suicune set. I would never run this Suicune set again. Lumberry Mimikyu was nifty. Ended up going with a meme, more of a meme-y Mimikyu set because I wasn't necessarily trying that hard when I was 1-3 or whatever in the league. I think I could have made this work a little bit better with bulk up Destiny Bond shenanigans with the Lumberry, but I didn't, and we lost the game. Then we played Johnny and the Colorado Reggie Rockies, and I had a pretty solid team. We finally brought Icium Z Freeze Shock Kyurem. That was pretty cool. I love Zap Plate Heliolisk. It puts in a lot of work. Focus Sash Lead Crocodile was cool, and actually this special Mega Absol actually put in a lot of work that week. Mimikyu did too. Classic Mimikyu. We'll go over that in a little bit. Then we took on Magic and Z-Splash. Mimikyu just swept him. That was pretty much the story of this game. We brought it to defensive, a more defensive-ish Kyurem-Black, even though we ran special attack investment for some reason. Physically defensive Crobat seemed to be standard for the most part. We brought a more specially biased Registeel. And Bandit Infernape also put in a lot of work against his team, especially Raquanid. This was the only thing I had for Raquanid was Bandit Thunder Punch. Yeah. Then we played Jed, and we got beat. I ran the same Mental Herb set on Crocodile. Choice Scarf, Kyurem did a lot of work to his team. Assault Vested Infernape was nifty. It lived to hit random hit somewhere. Specs Helios was good. Life Orb, Nasty Bat could have been good, but I ended up having to sack it. And Suicune was an interesting set yet again, just attacking, no boosting. Then we played Mano, Z Splash, Mimikyu, picking up a win yet again. Bandit Infernape coming. This was a very good Virizion set. So SD with this coverage kind of beat him. Yeah. I seem to be liking Helios quite a bit. Crook Double Scarfers with Crook 2 was really cool. We played Kade. We ended up bringing Babiri Berry, Kyurem-Black. Oh no, I changed the Z move. I was originally thinking Z Ground for the Mega Aggron, and I ended up going Babiri Berry so I would live a Heavy Slam, I think, and then Earth Power would do the rest anyways. We were Fightinium Z Infernape, but we were physical. Weird Suicune set yet again. I was Explosion Registeel, which caught him off guard, which I loved. I got a random kill from that. This was a very weird Absol set as well, but I was hoping I could Baton Pass an SD into my Infernape at some point. That was kind of the plan there. Or even into Kyurem-Black and get more damage from my Iron Heads. Heliolisk, I hate Focus Blast. Why do I run that move? Then we played Byron, and it's all pretty much standard except for, well, some of it's not standard. Luminous Moss Registeel. Luminous Moss raises the special defense if hit by a water attack. This was kind of my way to deal with the Melodic, except he has Haze, and I hate Haze, and it ended up fucking with my curse. Silk Scarf Ambipom with Power Punch Last Resort was really good. It ended up not doing any work against his team because I got burnt by the Melodic really early, and I was really sad about that. I should have had potentially U-turn on this as well. I don't know. That wouldn't have worked with Last Resort. I think this was the wrong set, although I thought that it could have done work earlier. Week 11 we took on Brandon and the Dallas Marowaks. Kyurem-Black, I had Ground EMZ on this one to deal with the talk specs. Banded Crobat came in handy quite a bit this game, and Mimikyu, I think, won the game for me. Classic Mimikyu. Choice Scarf Infernape was really good. We brought a bulky Crocodile, lead Crocodile, which took on his Lycanroc. Very odd Suicune set, yet again. I just love odd Suicune sets, apparently. And then week 12, the memes, we had our Sub-Focus Punch, Ambipom, Z-Hail, except I forgot that Kyurem wasn't my my Super Saiyan Z user. We brought our physically offensive Suicune, which was my favorite of the Suicune sets, honestly. We brought a specially offensive Registeel, we brought a Specs Crocodile, and a banded priority revenge killing Infernape with Retaliate. So one thing you'll notice about all of these is that Infernape was in all of these games, and we'll just show that for a sec. This is my team page on the dock. Games brought. Infernape was in 12 of the games, which is all of them. I believe, the only coach to play all 12 matches in the first place, and Infernape came to all 12 of my games, went 11-7 with a +4. But let's talk about all of them in order. Kyurem-Black 10-7 +3, and came to 9 games, came to a lot of the games, pretty good for my first overall pick. I don't know if I used it well enough, although with it having 7 deaths, maybe I just didn't build, a good enough defensive team around it to support it. Suicune went 4-7. That's pretty good for a wall, but it only came to 7 of my 12 games. I was kind of meh about Suicune until near the end. Crocodile went 2-7 in 8 games, so it came to quite a few games, and it was more of a utility mon for my team rather than an offensive powerhouse, which I think fit the role that I needed it to in the end. Heliolisk went 0-4, came to 5 games. Heliolisk showed up in playoffs. I think it actually finally got a kill in playoffs, but it ended up doing nothing for me in the regular season pretty much. It was just kind of a good momentum mon because my team, despite the fact that I love momentum, kind of lacked momentum in the upper half of the bracket here, and then I picked up more later. Pilliswine did pretty much nothing for my team. Showed up to 3 games, died twice. Yeah, it probably set up rocks like maybe once. I don't know. Mega Absol I hated with a passion. I would never draft Mega Absol ever again. It is too frail for my use, and yeah, it was too frail, and I didn't want to use it because it was either not fast enough to outspeed some good things, or its typing just lacked in doing anything. I used it as a Magic Bounce user a few times, and it never actually bounced any hazards back. I hate you, Mega Absol. You can go die. 4-6, really poor showing for Mega Absol in 6 games, and I regret drafting it so much. I could have grabbed like Mega Gyarados or something, and this would have been a much better team. Infernape 11-7 came to all 12 games. Really solid performance out of Infernape. Yeah, can't complain about that. Crobat came to 3 games, went 0-2. That doesn't say the whole story about Crobat though. I talked about how great utility mon it was. It came in clutch with the choice band against that dude, which ended up clinching me playoffs, so I will always love you, Crobat. Ambipom actually came in more clutch during the playoffs. I don't regret picking up Ambipom at all, even though it was 0-2 in 2 games. And my star, my baby, Mimikyu came to 6 games total. Only 6 of my matches. And that's half, by the way. And it picked up 19 kills. It went 19-4 plus 15. Let's take a look at the kill leaders real quick here. Mimikyu, top of the kill leaderboard. Let's go. Mimikyu is a boss. I ended up franchising Mimikyu for Season 2 because of how good it was. It came to half the games and got 19 kills for me. It's 3.17 kills per game. It's at the top of the league leaders on here. You can see my standings as well. Finished 6-6, 50% win rate, -1 differential. CSA finished 1 game behind me, so I won the division. But Bob finished 1 game ahead of me, so he got the bye. The other conference was very close. There were 3 teams at 9-3, and all 3 of those teams made the playoffs. Some of the differentials were ridiculous, like 28 and 23. Unfortunately, Magic didn't make playoffs, although he played really well throughout the season. Jed and Brandon ended up in a division which was dominated by Byron from the start, and they both picked up teams, so I feel kind of bad for them. Mano, despite complaining about the finals match, ended up sucking this season, and I don't know if that's because he wasn't motivated or because he drafted a weird team or what. but I don't think he has any right to complain about the finals, and I'll get to the finals when we talk about playoffs. Yeah, that's the thing. Johnny had a very unfortunate season, minus 27, 1-11. I think his one win was a forfeit? I can't even remember now. And Monster picked up 2 wins, I think, after picking up the team. He really improved a lot in the span that he had. Really happy about Mimikyu being at the top of the kill leaderboard. Our next best was Infernape down here at 19th, but I can't really complain about that at all either. Not in terms of kills, actually, because Infernape would be up here in 7th if it was in terms of kills, but it's sort of by differential, and then it ends up being that. But yeah, Mimikyu was fighting with Meloetta and Mega Charizard X for a while there, and Mimikyu ended up just being the star. It actually won the Offensive MVP award. It ended up getting 7 votes, 4 out of 10, which is really solid. I don't think I had any other Pokemon nominated for anything else, so I was okay with having that. Kade had the Mega Aggron voted for. Rudiger, I'm really proud of Rudiger. He made wild strides. He was voted for the most improved coach. He made playoffs in his first ever draft league, and he had a really hard time to get to playoffs. He ended up beating Kade in his last match, I think, to clinch playoffs. Yeah, it was really good. 7th Man Award, Celebi. Jed used Celebi really well, but it only came to a few games, but he used really, really well. That's what the 7th Man Award was, and it got 7 votes for, really solid. Jed also had Alolan Ninetales win the multi-role award. This was a lot closer because I don't think people understood what it meant. Celesteela made sense to me. Tapu Koko was weird. Why is Tapu Koko is not a multi-role Pokemon? It's not. It does one thing. It like gets you momentum and does damage. Alolan Ninetales could set up Veil. He uses a Scarfer. He uses a setup Mon. Celesteela is the epitome of a multi-role Pokemon, but I don't think that Johnny used it in multiple roles this season very well. Meloetta, another multi-role Pokemon. You can run it bulky, you can run it especially offensive, physically offensive, etc., etc. Yeah, that's sort of me ranting because Mimikyu is the offensive MVP, and I love that. Mimikyu, star of the team. Now, so we're going into playoffs. We have to play in the wildcard match against CSA, and CSA had beaten us previously in week 2, well, we went over that, and now we play them in playoffs round 1. So I ended up bringing kind of a wildly different team, and he brought a bit of a different team as well, which will go over my team here. So we brought, again, a weird Suicune set, but this was my way to deal with Cresselia. We brought a specially defensive Crobat that came in handy. Our normal Gem Explosion Registeel, no one was expecting that, and it sort of turned into a meme. Boom! I ended up booming on him like the last turn too, because differential didn't matter, and I wanted to show off my set. Scarfed Infernape did a lot. Again, Volt Switch priority with Heliolisk, and I think Mimikyu ended up being the star yet again. I think it picked up like 4 kills or 3 kills or something. We don't count the kills for playoffs. I didn't count any of the kills for playoffs. These are all regular season standings, updated through end of regular season. Updated through end of regular season, there were 518 kills total. Earthquake, why? Why? Earthquake, why? 41 over 21, like give me a break. But shows people were prepping really well with Hidden Power picking up 21 kills. That's kind of cool. Thunderbolt tied for second, not really surprised. Bullet Punch, the Scizor and Mega Scizor in this league did really, really well this season. And clearly, Kade was in the league with his Jake Stallers because Toxic had 15 kills. That's kind of besides the point. We played CSA, and we ended up winning the match. We ended up winning the match really, really hard, actually. Like, we destroyed him. I think we played super well, and we dealt with the Cresselia really well. I got a Toxic on the Cresselia before he set up a sub, because I think he tried to bring the exact same Cresselia set that beat me last time, and I stopped it right in its tracks. I killed his Sandcore really early, and Mega Garchomp couldn't do enough to my team. So I dealt with his team accordingly, and I was happy with that. Playoffs round 2, we played Bob, who we'd lost to in week 1. I was scared for this match, to say the least. I was really scared for this match, but what I noticed in week 12 when I was prepping for him again is that his team actually got worse with his transactions against my team. I think my matchup got better against his, and his got worse against me. So in round 2, I was prepped really hard for the Leavanny. I prepped with my lead Ambipom, and I had it completely set out to be able to beat the Leavanny turn 1. It was set out to beat the Dragonite, which he never brought, and I beat him 5-0. I think Mimikyu ended up picking up the last few kills as well. Mimikyu, what a solid Pokemon that is. It played out a lot differently than my match in week 1 did. Let's just check out my team for that one. So, yeah, lead Ambipom. We brought, again, a weird Suicune set. Defensive Crobat this time. Poisonium Z and Fernape caught his Florges off guard, and I bopped it with a Z Gunk Shot. Scarfed Kyurem ran through his team with Fusion Bolts and Outrages. Like, there's nothing he could have done. And Mimikyu, just a standard Mimikyu, put in a lot of work. Now, going into the championship match, which actually happened today, we were the underdogs. We were by far the underdogs. In our conference, we had lost to CSA in the regular season, we'd lost to Bob in the regular season, and then on the other side of the bracket, we'd lost to Rudiger, we'd lost to Byron, and we'd lost to Kade in the regular season. I think the only other person that I lost to throughout the season that wasn't in playoffs with me was Jed, and unfortunately Jed didn't make playoffs with the exact same record as me. I think he had the exact same record. Yeah, he had the exact same record as me, and he didn't make playoffs, but I did, because my conference was weaker. That's all there is to say about it, to be honest. If we go through the schedule here, you'll see that the out-of-conference games, Sun wins all 6 here. Sun wins 5. Sun wins 5. Sun wins half this week. Yeah, that was where it got a little bit better. But Sun kind of dominated Moon for the most part of the season, and it showed throughout the playoffs as well. Now, there was only one playoff match that happened on the other side of the bracket, and it was Rudiger versus Byron, and Byron came out on top by a smidge. Some unfortunate hacks led to Rudiger's loss. So that was one other person that we hadn't beaten down, and then unfortunately Byron ran into a very sad family problem, and he had to forfeit to Kade, who ended up running into me in the finals. So in the finals, we played Kade today. I built a very cool team that I thought dealt with his very well. Crocoon wrecked this team, except for one Arcanine set that he was thinking of bringing, which I don't think he would have brought considering it was illegal, but he had like a special sunny day Arcanine with Solar Beam and stuff that actually could have destroyed my Suicune, but besides that, Suicune kind of tore through his team. Now, I'm not going to get into the specifics necessarily about the championship match because I feel like it's been a witch hunt all day since then. Now, I'm not taking anything away from the league, but I've improved a lot over the season. I think I've shown that throughout these matches, showing how much I've improved, how I've used Mimikyu well throughout the season. Now, I didn't bring Mimikyu in the championship match because it had a bad matchup, but I think it did okay, and this is my championship team. This is my championship team. We brought a especially defensive Registeel to take on his team. It took on the Alomomola, it took on Standard Clefable really well, it took on Alolan Raichu really well, it took on Necrozma really well, and it took on the Cryogonal really well. Yeah, and basically anything wanting to switch in takes the Seismic Toss. You're taking like 30%, which is like pretty good chip from Registeel, and then I can switch into something else. Zapplate Heliolisk kind of bodied his team for the most part. His only switch into a Volt Switch is the Zygarde, and then I can Toxic it, or I was carrying HP Ice for it as well, which basically destroyed it. Yeah, that was really good. Choice Banded Crocodile actually was a super good switch into Arcanine for the most part. It was a good switch into Pangoro. It was a good switch into the Aggron. I went through all this in my team builder, but I'm just going over it again. This Crocodile set could have beaten his Aggron with Banded Low Kick and etc. etc. I ran Toxic on like 3 different things. 3 different things. 3 of my sweepers ran Toxic for his walls. I was special in Fernape this time to abuse the Mega Aggron better because I didn't deal with it well enough last time. And Z Focus Blast should kill normally. Yeah, that was the idea with that. My Wincon and Mega Absol is a really good Wincon too, ST Mega Absol, because I can set up on something like a Necrozma that can't hit me with a Stored Power and then sweep his team. And Crocoon absolutely bodied him. I finally figured out the proper Suicune set, and it turned out to be Crocoon the entire time, and it bodied his team. It would have completely smashed his team. I have no doubt in my mind that unless he prepped specifically unless he had prepped in a way to deal with my Suicune better than what his team shows on the screen right now, I feel that Suicune would have won. I feel I built a very solid team to take on his in the championship match, and we ended up playing more of a Mimi game. Kade and I are really good friends. He was super proud of the fact that I'd made it this far. We were both really disappointed that he never actually got to play his playoff match against Byron. Personally, I felt that was going to be the championship because I think they were both the best battlers in the league, and I was really bummed to see that they weren't going to play that match. Now, you can take this as you will, but I feel like I deserved the championship. Kade felt like I deserved the championship, and we ended up winning the playoffs. We became the Season 1 champion. I'm really stoked that I got to win a championship. Now, it's maybe a little bit sour based on everyone's reactions, but I'm just going to kind of come out and say it. I don't care. For the most part, I think people are salty over the match itself, but then they started to take the validity away from it, and it felt really bad to me because I worked really hard all season. I was the underdog coming into the playoffs. I was the only one who lost against all the other 5 teams, and I was the one who came out on top. I was the one who made Mimikyu the kill leader. I worked really hard this season. I was really proud of myself, and then it sort of came crashing down. I don't think Kade meant to hurt the validity of the league. I don't think I meant to hurt the validity of the league. He wanted to be a good friend and battle me with some fun stuff that he hadn't used before. Now granted, some of it was illegal, so realistically I would have won the finals 6-0 if I had even lost the finals match, which I didn't. I did win that actual game with my meme sets. He brought some legitimate sets that could have beat my team. The one that I brought, his Curse Decidueye set, if it wasn't running Bright Powder, it was completely legit. It trapped my Registeel, which was my main defensive check to Clefable, by the way, so Clefable could have rolled through my team. His Mega Aggron set, while Mimi, was a legitimate set, and you cannot take that away from him. His Necrozma set was not legal by any means because he ended up bringing Duskmane with Ultra Necrozium Z. His Zygarde set, if he changes it to Aura Break, was a completely legitimate set. He brought Banded Clefable, which actually could have done a lot with Drain Punch because my team, again, is extremely weak to fighting. He brought Life Orb Alomomola. I've always wanted to see what that would do. The only thing that walled Alomomola was Heliolisk, and we saw what a +1 Alomomola did to my Heliolisk. It did about half with an Ice Beam, which was crazy damage. I think people are taking too much away from the championship match and realizing that it's been a long season. Byron and Kade should have happened. And overall, I feel like it hasn't really been the most serious of seasons anyways. Like I said over here, all of the competition was in the Sun Conference. 9-3, 9-3, 9-3. 3 9-3 teams. The best we had in our conference was a 7-5. I made the playoffs with a 6-6 record, which the 2 worst teams in the Sun Conference had. And Datu actually had a better record than me because he had 0 differential and I had -1. So say what you will about Kade's play and my play and whatever else you want to talk about the championship match. I think I earned it. I'm proud to be the UPBA Season 1 champion. I have a lot of thinking to do about how people treat me in this league and how much work I myself have put into this league. I ended up pretty much running the dock. I ran the season awards. I made all these team pages, put the sprites on, updated all of the stats every single week. I was responsible for the move kill leaderboard, the kill leaders leaderboard, the standings page, the playoff bracket, the league leaders, the transactions page, keeping the rosters page up to date, keeping everybody's pages up to date. And so it felt kind of bad to me to be treated as poorly as I did when I came out winning the championship. That's kind of all I have to say. That's enough out of me tonight talking about this. This is our UPBA Season 1 recap. I plan tentatively to be part of UPBA Season 2. We'll see if that changes based on potentially what might happen tomorrow. I refuse to replay the championship match. There's no way I'm doing that. I've shown off this team twice now, in this video and in my team builder, and I've sent it to Kade already. I'm not replaying the match. This is the best team I could have made for the situation. So I'm not going to replay the match. He's not going to replay the match. If for some reason Byron gets given the championship, then I'm going to reevaluate kind of where I stand with this league and realize that I've put in all of this work on the Season 1 doc, and then the Season 2 doc I made from scratch. I built it from the ground up. I've been getting replacement coaches all season, and I feel like I deserve to be treated better than I have been throughout the season, as well as because of this championship match. So that's kind of my thoughts on everything. If you stuck around through the whole thing, I appreciate it. I had a lot of thoughts to talk about. I talked pretty much for 46 straight minutes, and yeah, I do want to shout out Monster, who I totally forgot to say. I'll be linking his channel in the description too. He's a good friend of mine. Kade, Jed, you guys supported me through the whole thing. Magic, same with you. Dat Dude, I have no hard feelings, even though we're not that close. Rudiger, no hard feelings with you as well. I feel like we're decent friends as well. If I'm missing anyone, I don't remember. Am I missing anyone? Nope, those are the people I wanted to shout out for the most part. Anyways, yeah. I've been Ian, coach of your Ladner Lanturn. We may be rebranding for Season 2. I've got a logo that I'm commissioning on the way, so we'll see if that's ready in time for Season 2 or not. Or I'll probably just change it anyways. So that's kind of a surprise there. And yeah, I'll catch you guys for UPBA Season 2.